Hello friends, this is my assignment for week 5 of the Introduction to Music Production course. For this assignment, I have chosen to demonstrate the configuring of an equalizer plugin to function like a large format mixing console equalizer section. As I have not really seen an actual mixing console and did not know much about before the course, I will follow Professor Luden's suggestion in the assignment and use the values as given by him in the course to set up my plugin. For the purposes of this assignment, I will use the CAF plugins pack in Linux. So let us now choose an equalizer plugin from CAF. Let me choose an equalizer 8-band plugin. I'll edit that. And this is my equalizer plugin. So based on the steps that Professor took, the very first thing I should do to mimic his board is to set up a high-pass filter. In this case, the high-pass filter was to be set up at 75 Hz. So let us do that. I'm unable to directly feed in a value in this plugin, so I will have to try and get as close to 75 as possible using my mouse. The roll-off in the board was for 18 decibels per octave, but even I do not have that. So I'll use 24 decibels per octave just like the professor had in his class. So in this way, we have set the high pass with a drop at 75 Hz and a curve of 24 decibels per octave. Now the next step to do is to move on to the low shelving filter. So we shall activate that. Now as per the values given by the professor based on his board, we will have to set the low shelving filter to 80 Hz or nearabouts. So let us do that. We will set it to as close to 80 Hz as possible. And we can, as you know, boost or cut the signal as required. So we shall now keep it as 0 so that we can do the required cutting or boosting as per the audio signal when we require it. The next band that we should work on, or the next set of filter that we should work on, is the low mid-range EQ. In the case of Professor Luden's board, he had decided that the lower limit of this EQ should be 100 Hz, so we shall do the same and bring this as close to 100 Hz as possible. To see the effect of the EQ, we can actually give it a level of a cutoff, for example, and the band of the cutoff will be dependent on how we set up Q, value of Q. To see the movement of this low pass, we can actually take it from 100 Hz all the way up to 10 kilohertz if required. So this is the range we get based on, of course, all the other filters we set. For now, we'll preset it at 100 or closest to 100 as possible. The next he had used was the high mid-range. Now I have got 4 filters to work with, but I'll not use 2 of them. So I'll set this up as the high mid-range filter. And for this, the lower limit I shall give as 400 Hz or as close as possible. Again, we can see the impact of that when we either cut or boost the values. Right now, we shall keep everything at 0, as the cutting and boosting will completely depend on the actual recording activity. Finally, we come to the high shelf filter. In Professor's board, this was preset at 2 kilohertz and it could not be changed from that. We, of course, being in software, have all the possibility of changing that value, but right now, because we are mimicking that board, we will also set it as close as possible to 2 kilohertz. Again, you can see if I actually do a boost or a cut, the shelf moves. Like he said, we can probably preset it at minus 15 decibels and move it around as required when we're actually doing recording or post-production. So now we have a plugin which is set up very closely to mimic Professor Loden's board. This plugin can be very useful if we store these presets so that we can directly use these plugins whenever recording. Otherwise, we'll have to spend all this time setting up all the values again. To save in CALF, all we have to do is go to preset and say store preset. Let's say assign phi. So now, as you can see, that preset is readily available and we can immediately use the preset. So if I go to another preset, I can come back to assign phi. So now this preset is readily available. This is how to set up an equalizer plugin to mimic the equalizer section of an actual mixing board. I hope you like this presentation. Cheers and best of luck for the final assignment.